Even the country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid. And then there's abortion. A difficult issue for the Democrats to lose on, but they're trying. For decades, liberals have said if only men could get pregnant, this wouldn't even be an issue.
It's been nearly a year since Bill Maher started openly pushing back against what he sees as extreme progressive ideas, and he's showing no signs of stopping. His latest target? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's been traveling across the country promoting her activist views, but as usual, Maher isn't impressed. Stay with us. We're diving into what's going on.
Every month I see a new poll reporting how much Latinos despise the woke term Latinx. It's about as popular with them as a reboot of Speedy Gonzales. Even the country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid.
Here's how it all started. Bill Maher did what he's known for, asking the tough questions that make people uncomfortable. This time, he took aim at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her continued push for a far-left agenda, one that many Americans are starting to reject. Maher questioned why anyone would double down on an approach that's often seen as divisive, extreme, and out of touch. Most people might take a step back and rethink things, but not AOC. She's confident she's on the right side and isn't shy about pushing her progressive vision, no matter how it's received. But here's the twist. Maher didn't stop there. What followed wasn't just criticism. It was a sharp, thorough takedown that left no room for excuses. You'll want to stick around. This is where it gets intense.
And then there's abortion. A difficult issue for the Democrats to lose on, but they're trying. For decades, liberals have said if only men could get pregnant, this wouldn't even be an issue. And abortion rights are women's rights. Well, that's wrong now. Or as the kids say, hole up. When the wokey end of the progressive spectrum talks about abortion now, they shy away from that word, women, and prefer terms like birthing people.
This became the tipping point. Democrats stood firm on refusing to give a clear definition of what a woman is. Just 10 years ago, this wasn't controversial. Most people agreed that women menstruate, get pregnant, and give birth. That was considered basic biology. But with the rise of progressive politics, gender became more fluid, and questioning that shift was suddenly labeled as bigotry. Many Americans weren't on board. They asked simple, honest questions and were met with harsh criticism, cancellations, and dismissive attitudes from media and academic circles. While the left held tightly to these new ideas, a large part of the country quietly stepped away. The result? One of the Democratic Party's most significant election setbacks in years, not because voters were hateful, but because they felt unheard, dismissed, and tired of being told that even basic truths were offensive. This wasn't just a political loss, it was a loss of trust.
And more of them now than ever are identifying as Republican. So are Asian Americans, whose support for Democrats is down 16 points since the last election. A lot of that is because, in the name of achieving equity in schools, Democrats in deep blue cities have made it a mission to eliminate the advanced programs at which Asian kids excel.
This is what happens when you keep backing people into a corner. Eventually, they push back, and not in the way you expect. AOC and her allies moved through deep blue states like they had unlimited political power, believing they were untouchable. They pushed bold, often extreme policies, assuming their base would follow without question. But they misread the moment. What they didn't see coming was the quiet backlash. Voters who once cheered them on suddenly changed course, quickly and decisively. And where did many of them go? To the GOP. That's right, the same side AOC spent years criticizing. It wasn't a slow shift, it was a political jolt. Longtime supporters became vocal critics almost overnight, and once solid Democratic strongholds are now showing serious cracks. Now the big question is this. Is this just a rough patch for AOC, or the beginning of a major unraveling of everything she's built. Stick around. Bill Maher's next move could be a game changer.
Last week, an 85% Latino congressional district on the border with Mexico, which had always voted heavily Democratic, flipped to the red team. And the campaign manager for the losing Democrat said, "We gave up a reliably Democratic congressional seat for no reason at all. We deserve to know why." Well, aside from your terrible attitude, I'm going to tell you why. Because these voters stopped seeing your candidate as their lawyer.
If you've been wondering why Bill Maher keeps dropping lines like "my lawyer" and "their lawyer," don't overthink it. This isn't about a courtroom, it's sharp political commentary. Maher's point is simple. Voters expect their elected leaders to stand up for them, to act like their advocates, not like someone defending the other side. And that's where AOC and her progressive allies are missing the mark. Instead of standing with everyday people, they've often come off as lecturing, grandstanding, and pushing ideas that leave voters wondering, whose side are you really on? Maher isn't just throwing out criticism, he's building a case one punch at a time. He's highlighting the growing disconnect between what voters want and what these representatives are actually doing. The real twist? AOC talks like she's fighting for the underdog, but in the court of public opinion, she's starting to look like the one on trial. And when Maher delivers his final argument, it won't be soft. Stick around, the verdict could shake things up in a big way.
If you're a parent and wanted schools to reopen a lot sooner than they did after COVID shutdowns, or think maybe your kid is getting a bad education, partly because it's nearly impossible to fire a lousy teacher, yeah, you're going to say, "Congratulations, teachers, you got yourself a good lawyer. The Democratic Party's always got your back, 100%. But I've noticed my kid is kind of an idiot. So I may be looking for new representation."
It wasn't just Latino voters that AOC and her progressive allies managed to push away. They hit a deeper nerve: education. And the fallout? Let's just say the report card doesn't look good. A few years ago, with the Biden administration leading the charge and far-left voices cheering it on, policies were put in place that made it much harder to remove underperforming teachers. It might have sounded well-intentioned, but in reality, it tied the hands of school leavers across the country. The results have been disastrous. According to the nation's report card, average math scores for 13-year-olds dropped by 9 points between 2020 and 2023, the sharpest decline in 50 years. Reading scores also fell by 4 points. And the teachers at the center of this mess, protected like museum pieces. While AOC rallies crowds with catchy slogans and Bernie Sanders sticks to the same old class warfare lines, parents are left staring at their kids' grades, asking, what happened? This isn't just a failed policy, it's a generational crisis. And it raises a serious question. With results like these, can the Sanders-AOC wing really help the Democratic Party recover, or are they dragging it further into academic and electoral trouble? Stick around, Maher's next critique might be the final exam. And let's just say, they're not exactly making the honor roll.
President Biden wants to cancel hundreds of billions of dollars in student debt. Okay, but the poorer 2/3 of American kids who don't get a college degree are going to say, why should the people who didn't go to college and make less money subsidize the people who did go and make more? You want me to chip in so some liberal arts college can build a bigger rock wall? You're not my lawyer.
Sometimes, when I really think about the policies Democrats have tried, and spectacularly failed, to push through, I can't help but laugh. And I'm not talking about minor slip-ups. I mean full-blown, headline-making flops. The kind that would be funny if they weren't so serious. Take the defund the police movement. It sounded bold until crime surged in major cities, and even its loudest cheerleaders quietly walked it back. Or the rent cancellation push, which might have made sense in a college dorm, but collapsed under basic economic logic. And then there's the effort to ditch standardized testing, because apparently, expecting students to meet academic standards is now considered oppressive. As Bill Maher put it, it's like Democrats are playing how to lose the middle in 10 easy steps, and they're nailing it by failing. The kicker? The same people behind these policy disasters think they deserve another shot at leading the country. This is political theater at its most absurd. And Maher? He's not about to let them walk off stage without calling them out.
When he ran in 2020, Bernie Sanders said he would legalize marijuana on his first day as president, but that the business of selling pot would be awarded first to those who suffered most from the drug war. And you know what? I can't argue with that instinct. The drug war has been a horrendous instrument of prejudice and punishment for racial minorities. So it seems fair that they jump the line for weed franchises the way Indians did for casinos. But it's also what's holding up Republican support for legalizing weed nationally, which would be good for everybody. And these are the hard, practical choices the Democrats have to weigh.
Bill Maher makes a powerful point here, one that deserves real attention. If Democrats seriously want to regain power, slogans and moral posturing won't cut it. They need to confront their past mistakes, openly and honestly. And here's the surprising part. They actually need to start talking with the people they've ignored for years. Not talking at them, not guessing their concerns from behind desks in DC, but sitting down, face to face, and truly listening. No spin, no jargon, no judgment. Because relying on polls and think tank theories to understand voters is exactly how they lost them in the first place. Maher's not saying they need to abandon their values, he's saying they need to reconnect, rebuild trust, and get real. If they don't, they're just shouting into an empty room while the voters they need have already walked out. Time's running out. The only question is, will they wake up before the window closes for good?
As with all these issues, the wavering voter is saying to her lawyer, the Democratic Party, hey, so happy for you that you have so many other clients and that you care so much about their problems and all the pro bono work you do. But you're supposed to be my lawyer. The Democrats need to be like the lawyers you see on billboards. You hurt, we fight.
Bill Maher didn't just roast the Democrats, he held up a mirror. From ignoring voters to twisting basic facts, the party has drifted so far from the people they say they represent, it's almost unrecognizable. Maher's jokes get laughs, but they also hit hard, pointing out real failures in their policies and messaging. If Democrats want any chance at a comeback, doubling down on denial won't cut it. They need to listen, make honest changes, and face the truth head-on. Because if they don't, voters won't just walk away. They'll slam the door behind them. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please hit like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.